Well, now that I got rid of my beard and stuff, let's see what happens here. Pop out. Boop. Pop that out. I can see it. See if anyone shows up. And we're going to go with a little bit of Alan Watts. Let's see what he has.
A lot of people think that the spontaneous
and we'll throw in a little bit of
in natural life, as it's understood by these Far Eastern philosophers, is to act according to whim.
And I think I'll get rid of myself a little bit.
There was, for example, a great Zen monk of lived shortly after 1000 AD, who had a very peculiar way of painting. He had long hair, and he'd get very drunk on rice wine. Then he'd soak his hair in ink and slosh it all over the paper. Then he would do a Rorschach test on it and decide what kind of a landscape it actually was, and then put in the finishing touches. And suddenly, out of this apparent mess, a great landscape would be evoked. But the whole art of the thing lay in putting in the finishing touches. And also, there's a very curious thing. If a person who is untrained in painting makes a mess with a brush, it's liable to be just a mess. Whereas if a person who has the feeling of painting in them for a long time, and they make a mess with a brush or just do anything, it looks interesting. And that's why if you try to copy the best people in modern abstract, non-objective painting, you'll find it's a very difficult thing to do. Because there is more to spontaneity than caprice and disorder. And I want to try and explain what that is. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we could live absolutely on the spur of the moment? Not make any particular plans, not feel that, well, you might make plans, because you can make plans spontaneously, but not to worry about whether you had made the right decision, whether you were being good or bad, selfish or unselfish, and not to hesitate in anything, you see. One of the great applications of Zen, as I pointed out, was to the art of fencing. And when you learn fencing, you see you have to learn to be spontaneous, because here of all places it is true that he who hesitates is lost. If you're engaged in combat, you see, and you stop to think what sort of a defense or attack you ought to make, the enemy has got you. So the way they teach people spontaneity in fencing is very interesting. When you start into fencing school, you of course live with the teacher. He has a kind of ashram. But you're given a janitorial job. You clean up, you wash dishes, you put bedding away and things like that. But while you're going about your daily business, the master surprises you with a practice sword, which is made of 4 strips of bamboo, rather loosely tied together.
And we're back.
And he hits you with this, surprisingly and suddenly, from nowhere. And you are expected to defend yourself with anything available. With the bedding, with the broom, with the pots and pans, with just anything. Defend. But the poor student never knows when the attack is coming, or what direction it's coming from, and he begins to get tense. And he begins to go around everywhere on sort of alert, you see, watching which direction it's coming from. And as he goes down a certain passage, feeling that the master is probably lurking around that corner, and he's all set to go for him as he gets that practice sword, he suddenly gets hit from behind. So eventually, he gives up. There's absolutely no way of preparing for the attack. And so he just wanders around and feeling, well, if it hits, it's going to hit. And then he's ready to begin fencing. Because if you prepare for an attack from a specific direction, and it comes from some other direction. You have to withdraw from the direction in which you had expected it and send your energy in another direction, and that takes time. So what you do is, you go around with a mind of no expectation. That is called mushin, or munen. This is a very important Zen expression. Mushin, it almost means an empty mind. You could also call it no heart, because the character shin means both heart and mind, but it isn't quite the same as our word heartless, as we use it, and it isn't the same as the word mindless, as we use it, meaning stupid. To be in the state of mushin is to have a mind like a mirror. And of this, the Taoist sage Zhuangzi said,
state
the
of
perfect man
mushin.
employs his mind as a mirror. It grasps nothing, it refuses nothing, it receives but does not keep. And when anything comes in front of the mirror, it reflects it instantly. The mirror doesn't wait to reflect it. They also say, when the moon rises, all bodies of water instantly reflect the moon. I mean, they don't bother with physics about the speed of light or anything like that. It's irrelevant. Or they say, when you clap your hands, the sound issues immediately. It doesn't stop to consider whether it will issue. And so sparks from the flint, when it's struck, they issue instantly. But to do this, you can't try to be quick. See, if a Zen master corners you with a funny situation, and he puts you in a quandary, expecting spontaneous action from you, don't try to hurry. I know I've watched Suzuki wait a whole minute before answering, but he doesn't hesitate. He's not at all embarrassed by this wait. And he can answer with silence just as well as with a formal response. The point is, do something. When two young Americans wanted to study Zen, they were taken by a Japanese monk to interview the master and act as interpreter. And one of them had had some practice, you know, he knew a bit about it. And so after they had had tea together and just discussed formalities, the master said in a very easy way, well, what do you gentlemen know about Zen? And one of these students threw his fan, which he hadn't unfolded, the fan was still folded up, he threw it straight at the master's face. The master slightly moved to one side, and the fan went and went right through the paper wall. And the master laughed like a child. Huh? Well, that's the sort of game they get in. Once the master was going around through the forest with a group of students, and he picked up a tree branch. And notice that one might pick up a tree branch, and suddenly he turned to one of his students and said, what is it? And he hesitated, so he hit it into the branch. And so another student was there, and he turned to him quickly. He said, what is it? And he said, give it to me, I want to see it. I'll tell you. So the master tossed the branch to him, and he took it and hit the master. Now, you may think all this is kind of rough stuff. But let me give you another story, which is on a rather different level. A certain Zen priest was having dinner at a big party, and the party was being served by a geisha girl who was so elegant and so skillful in serving that he suspected she might have had some Zen training. And so he decided to try her out. And he nodded to her, and she immediately came to his place and sat down in front of his little low table. See, everybody would be seated, probably, in front of low tables all around the room, and the geisha servants and people move up and down in the middle. And so she came down and sat down in front of him and bowed, and he said, I would like to give you a present. And she said, I would be most honored. Now, on the table, there are hibachi, which are little braziers with hot charcoal in. And you move the charcoal around with iron chopsticks. He took a piece of charcoal out and iron chopsticks and offered it to her. She had long, long sleeves on her kimono, and what she did was this. She wound them all around her hands and took the charcoal, immediately got up and went to the kitchen, disposed of the charcoal, changed her robe, which had holes turned almost all the way through the sleeves, and came back. And she sat down in front of the master and bowed. And she said to him, "I would like to give you a present." He said, "I would be most honored." And so she picked up the iron chopsticks and handed him the charcoal. And he pulled out a cigarette and said, "That's just what I wanted," and lit the cigarette. Now, here's the lesson. The master's spontaneity and being ready for that situation was the kind of quick thinking that a good comedian has, who, in a completely unprepared way, can make all sorts of jokes and turn any situation into a jest of some kind.
You want to come up?
There are all sorts
You're going to let Benny up on there. Come on, let Benny up.
People who
Come on, Ben.
are experts in kind of like Dorothy Parker.
There you go.
In that sort of repartee.
Good boy.
But here it's been developed in a very fundamental way and to a very high degree. Now, the way in which it's developed, you see, requires a protected situation. Because if we all started to act on the spur of the moment, without the slightest consideration or deliberation, everybody would think we were crazy. And people would avoid us and call the police and things like that. But what they do is this. They start you doing this in the context of a disciplined situation, where there are very rigid rules for most of the time, but there are certain instances at which all those rules go hang. And you're in a community which understands the game. Because the point is this, when you start acting spontaneously, you're not used to doing it, and therefore your responses are unintelligent and inappropriate. But when you become used to doing this, and when it becomes second nature to you to act in the state of motion, with no mind or no deliberation, then your behavior has matured. And you find that you're accustomed to respond quite appropriately, as the Zen master did in lighting his cigarette from the charcoal. So also in learning the art of swordsmanship, when he has given up defending himself and preparing his mind for attack, then he's got a mirror mind. This is also likened to a vessel of water, like a wooden barrel. When you make a hole in the barrel, the water instantly flows out of the hole, because the water is always available to come out. It doesn't have to choose.
Hey, you boys. How you doing, mate?
That Mushin is what Krishnamurti calls choicelessness. And
a very good afternoon to you too.
In this sense, is not quite the same thing as decision. Choice means dithering.
Hey, Teddy. How you doing, mate?
You know, there are some people who, before they start to write something down,
I'm just
they
listening to the famous Alan Watts.
Pen dithers over the paper, and then they start to write.
As he talks about ignorance.
And so in the same way, a lot of people constantly in the life situation, they dither, because that dithering is anxiety. To be or not to be, that is the question. But there is no question about to be or not to be. See, because to be and not to be go together, as we saw, they arise mutually. So then, in the situation of the Zen community...
Just on a coffee break from working, so I thought I'd come and throw something together. By the end of next week, I will have no internet, so
which is, you see,
I'm going to be disappearing for quite a while till I sort something out.
That you give up thinking. It doesn't mean that you become an anti-intellectual. You all can also learn, and this is part of the later phases of Zen training, how to think spontaneously, how to deliberate spontaneously. The saying is, you see, stand or walk as you will, but whatever you do, don't wobble. So this is our difficulty, because the human mind...
And how are things in California this fine morning?
Feedback has a peculiar susceptibility to nervousness.
And how's the rain in Dublin? Or is it a sunshiny day there, Coys?
I know that I know. What I would like to see is the eye that knows me when I know that I know that I know. You see? Now, in this way, we think about thinking. We worry about worrying. And then when that really gets bad, you worry because you worry about worrying. Now that is analogous exactly to the kinds of vibration that are set out.
Yeah, it's a miracle. It's August and the sun finally came out here.
For example, I did this trick on television once. I had
It's been a crap summer.
Cameraman turn the camera on the monitor. The monitor is the television set in the studio where you see what you are doing. And so on this show,
well, Teddy, I think kids always wear you out. Makes us realize how old we are.
About your sets. There's not going to be anything wrong with your set, so don't turn it off. Now I said, Mr. Cameraman, will you please turn the camera on the monitor? He does that, and what does he do? He's taking a picture of taking a picture, all in the same system. And as you do that, the system starts going like that. You see, and it sets up a kind of...
Oh, that's awesome, Coys.
And you see on the screen all these jagged lines dancing across. Now that's what's meant, you see, by hesitation, attachment, blocking, all that kind of thing which the Zen discipline is designed to overcome. And because the human being is such a peculiarly beautifully organized nervous system, and has this tremendously subtle cortex, which is capable of all kinds of thinking about thinking. You can turn yourself on in the most extraordinary ways by, for example, getting earphones which repeat what you say.
You got a live streamer in the family, Coys. Oh. And what sort of stuff does she stream?
Tied up with your own heartbeats.
Makeup?
And get feedback.
I shouldn't say that. That is
in this way,
too
so
general.
That you suddenly begin to see yourself behaving, and it completely balls you up because you wait for yourself to go on, but then you realize it's you doing it, but you can't wait on your heartbeat. You can't wait on what you say. And you get this sensation of going faster and faster and faster and faster until you just have to close the whole thing off. You'll go crazy.
She
So
streams
that's
her
what we're doing.
games. Cool.
And our civilization and our social institutions reflect this in hundreds of ways. And this would be true of any civilization, because all civilization is based on the development of consciousness and feedback, that is to say, the property of self-control, of being self-conscious, looking at what you've done, and then being able to criticize it and correct it. But who criticizes? Is the critic reliable? When you criticize yourself, who will criticize the critic? You see? Or to put it in the other way...
Yeah, I'm going to put this guy on. I'm going to change this over to, what's his name? I'm so bad with names, but he's a poet, and this is so good. There we go.
Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. Beyond the watch. There are ways out. There is a light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness. Beyond the watch, the gods will offer you chances. Know them. Take them. He can't beat death, but he can beat death in life, sometimes. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be. Your life is your life. Know it While you have it, you are marvelous. The gods wait to delight in you. If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. Go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision, mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. All the way. All the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is.
How to heal when your family betrays you. Your family can consist of your friends, your family, your boyfriend, co-workers that you're close with, that you felt you had a bond with, that are considered your friends. Betrayal can mean disloyalty. It can mean the feelings of someone being unfaithful, someone deceiving you, or the deception led by the fake personalities that these people are portraying to be within your life. But within this video, I'm going to tell you a brief story about how I was betrayed by my own family. Yes, it hurts. It cuts to the core where the healing seemed like it was never, ever, ever going to heal. A band aid couldn't heal these wounds overnight. But just like the situation that we're in didn't create itself overnight. So I had to learn that it's going to take time to heal, but we must heal and move forward and start by forgiveness. When I say forgive, I don't sit here and mean that you have to allow and accept the actions or behaviors that people have put upon you that was negative. I mean, when I say forgive, I mean to accept the truth that you now know that this person in your life is causing these problems, or this person in your life is not who you thought they were. They show you their true colors. So, however, what I mean by forgive is to let go of the hate and anger and pain and learn to be strong enough to forgive that person with love. Forgive that person and love them from a distance. Feed them with the, like the old people say, the old, the long wooden spoon. That's how you deal with it. Next, I would say you need to learn how to take control. Take control. Surround yourself with these family members that you know are in on your targeting at your own convenience. Meaning, if you are invited to a family gathering and you just not emotionally under control to control your emotions to be in this environment, don't go. Pass. Stay at home. Why suffer? Why put yourself through that suffering when you can have control? Say, you know what, I can't go. You don't gotta explain. Just don't go. But however, I will say don't isolate yourself. When it comes to these families events, and I know the family member is going to be there that I feel are in my targeted, I sometimes still go. However, I do try to take with me a trusted source to be around me, so that I can feel safe that if something happened, I have somebody there to be a witness to the things that might take place. So, for an example, I had a birthday gathering I had to attend. I still went, and I seen the people there that I felt have betrayed me or in on my targeting. And unfortunately, two of them is my sisters. I have to deal with them because they're my blood sister, same mother, same father. So how I deal with it is I still greet them. Hi, how you doing? I show up and I show
Hi,
out. I
Millennium. How
come
you
there
doing?
um,
No one's
looking dressed
stalking me
to
as
impress.
far as I
I come there
know,
hair combed, come
and
there
it
less
wouldn't bother
sweaty.
me if they were.
I hug
But
them. I
a
greet
friend of
everybody
mine
else that's in
is
the
very
room. Do I
concerned
sit by them?
that they are being
No.
gang stalked,
I let them know I'm
and
happily
I've
unbothered
been
by the
starting to
actions
research
that you
into the
have
process
taken
of gang
place and are
stalking, and
participating in.
it's
It doesn't bother me
quite an
to the point where
interesting
I'm going to
thing.
let you know it bothers me. In the closure of my home, yes, it bothers me to the point of anger, confusement, sadness, tears, you know, because these are people that you feel that you would take a bullet for. And for them to betray you in the point of helping somebody go against you, I can never understand why. And some people think that if they don't get involved, it's not betrayal. Being silent can also falls under the category of being betrayed because you feel if you reaching out to these people and telling them what's going on in your life and they actually see what's going on in your life and they don't reach out to help, that's still betrayal because you should have my back to the point of saying, you know what,
Um,
whatever you're going through, I'm
Next
here for you. Whatever you're going through,
Thursday,
I'm
I
going to
fly
be the
out.
one to be
Not
your
this Thursday,
voice
but next
when I'm in
Thursday I fly
ear
out.
to somebody's, lying on you. But that's not what's going on. I did confront my sisters, my mother, and explain to them that I felt my cousin was highly involved
Well,
in
Coys, I
betraying
think
me
it is
to
a
show up at my
bit like
house.
extortion. It
She
seems
would
like
call
people
me
feel that they're being
constantly.
watched
She would
by
show up unannounced.
everyone.
She gave my
I don't know if
son
it's
medicine without
paranoia
my consent while I was
or
there at the house. She didn't ask me, and I
if
didn't
it's
know
a
why.
physical thing,
All I know is my son came to me and said, "My stomach hurt, my stomach hurt." I
but
said, "What's
from what
wrong?"
I'm looking
So and
at it,
so gave me some medicine because I was
some of it
coughing.
seems
I said,
quite
"But you wasn't coughing like that." Mind you, my son has asthma, so
set
you
up.
can't take all types of medication
No, there's
for
supposed to
something
be
to
a.
enhance the coughing. That's what she
Well,
doesn't
people are
understand.
linking it
So I
to
called her
Freemasonry, of course.
and asked her
Everything
why
seems to
she
get
do this. I told my
linked to
sisters,
Freemasonry
"Why
now.
does she do this?" And that's why I
And
explained to them. I feel
also, they're
she's
saying it's
actively doing
CIA
a
and
lot of stuff that's going
FBI
on
that
because
orchestrates
a
it.
lot of times
And
she
basically,
will call
it's
my
just
job to
people
see if I'm even
being
at work.
put in
It
your
was just weird.
presence to
And you got to
manipulate
trust
you
your instinct.
through
When
electronic
something is telling you
means,
don't trust this
um,
person, don't be around this
telepathic
person anymore. So
means,
what I did with her is
um,
some people
just
you
by
have to cut them off completely.
I don't know. It's
Completely.
I'm
Even if
just
they're
looking
family
into it
members.
now,
She
doing
was
some
the one
research
that I
on it
felt, oh no, no, no. I have to cut her off
because
completely. I
it's
can't
a quite
even
an interesting thing.
try to be feed her with a wooden spoon. It's cut her off completely because it was not even a little ounce of trust within her. Some people get paid to do this, you guys. Some people do it for other reasons because they may be avoiding a jail sentence. I don't know, but however, also I have another cousin
That's what this
that's
person is talking
currently
about right now,
incarcerated, and
is
he
about the
keeps saying, "I was
situation
set
that
up,
they
I
were
was
in.
set up, I was set up." And mind you, the same cousin I'm talking about, that's his goddaughter slash cousin,
But like I
So it's
said, I
just
don't know if
weird
it's
because, I'm not trying to speculate and say that she's
I'm not
involved
sure
in
what it is.
his reasons for being within imprisonment, but however, I am saying stuff don't add up, and but let God handle it, because like I said, I prayed on it and I prayed for vindication that one day the truth will be revealed and that these people that are conducting evil against us will have to suffer. I don't pray for their suffering, but I pray for them to understand that you can't mistreat people in this manner and still get away with it and live a happy, continuous life. So, she's going through some hardships right now. Am I happy? No, but I can't be honest and tell you that I can't reach out. I don't feel sorry for her. Okay? A long story short, also, I would like to tell you surround yourself with people you can still trust and bring them with you as support groups, you know? And also within your mindset, remember my goal is always on my mindset set and faith. All you need is the faith of a mustard seed, and it states that God will help deliver you through this. And if those of you don't know what a mustard seed is, Google it. A mustard seed is so small it can fit in the crevice of your nail bedding, you know? So that's how small it is. I mean, you just need a little bit of faith that you're going to make it through this. But speak life into yourself. We have the power to speak life or death into our minds and own it. We got to learn how to be our own best friends, you know? So speak life into yourself. Say, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to do this because I have more than one family member involved in my disloyalty, unfaithful, deceive, deception, betrayal is what they done to me, but I still speak life into myself. I still smile. I go to certain events, like I stated. I was invited to go out of town. I said no because when I was invited to go out of town, I couldn't bring my trusted source with me. I couldn't bring that person with me. So I said, no, I'm not going to set myself up. So if something happened, all I have is my word. However, I wanted you to know that the ones that you're close to, like your mom, your dad, your sister, brother, it's you gotta realize if you're not going through this, you don't understand it. Think about it. We understand what the other two are going through because we are actually going through it. So you gotta think this like if the tables was turned and your sister, mother, brother came to you and said, I feel somebody's following me. I feel this is going on. I feel that all the sirens are due to me. I feel like the helicopters are due to me. How would you receive that information? Would you jump to the conclusion that this person is actually telling you the truth? Or would
Yeah.
you sit back and think like,
Well, I
oh
try
no,
and be
what's going on with my
open.
relative or my loved one?
Definitely.
They're breaking down by
Um,
thinking a
that's
helicopter is
due to
following them.
living without
So you
fear.
have to
I
be
have
patient
no
that
fear
one day they'll wake up and say, I
of
believe you, I see it because
authority.
I was
I think
living
that
with my mother.
came,
She actually
came
seen
from
what
when I
was
was a
going on.
young
She
lad
seen the mail
and getting
disappearing.
in lots of trouble.
She seen the
And
break-ins
then you
in my
grow out of it.
current apartment when I was separated from her, when I was living by myself.
Cheers,
And
Millennium.
she see how we get
Um,
attacked by the
I have
police
a
just unexplainably.
experiment I'm
She
doing
see
over
the
there.
current events that take place that is not
I've got
that
2
has
miles
no
of pipe
explanation to why it's
that
happening.
I'm
She see the car
going to
being
put to
slashed. She knows
use.
I have no enemies because she was around me 20, almost
Well,
24
it's a
hours
pleasure
a
to
day.
meet yours.
She knows my life. She birthed me. I never been arrested, never been in jail.
You
It's not by luck
you're
or
brutally
coincidence.
honest.
I don't do things to
Actually,
cause harm. She
that's
knows that.
interesting where that came up.
However, after I showed
I'm
her a
going
couple
to
of the videos, I forwarded to my sisters. No one stepped up to say,
let me
I understand what you're going through. I'm here for you to help you. They
let
still
me
don't
close
believe
this
me.
off. I'm gonna put on. This is a young man with a valedictorian speech. Listen to him. It's quite good. Basically, it's the way the education system works.
I am speaking. I am speaking into a microphone. I am speaking into a microphone at graduation. No matter how many details I give, I will never be able to express the full truth about today, about this experience, about high school. Nevertheless, I would like to describe to you as honestly as I can how it is I came to represent our graduating class on this occasion as its valedictorian. As much as I would like to say that I was chosen because of my hard work, dedication, and intellect, I would be far from truthful in doing so, as I have met and studied alongside individuals more diligent and talented than myself in the past 4 years. 4.63. This 3-digit number is the reason I stand before you today. But what does it really mean? My GPA is just an artificial number meant to measure my academic prowess, as determined by what grades I earned and what classes I took. However, GPA among students equally able to earn A grades in all of their courses is dependent solely upon the number of weighted courses versus the number of unweighted courses the student took, not accounting for extracurricular involvement social awareness, or even how much was learned. The system, imposed upon us by tradition, has separated true education from academic achievement, where one can now be accomplished without the other. High school academics are a game that the players must learn to beat in order to climb the leaderboards of class rank. The most successful players, as dictated by our ranks, learn the ways in and around the system and choose their courses accordingly. GPA has become like currency in a game of Monopoly, in which the players who chance upon the right tiles or construct the right schedules earn more, while others inevitably end up with less. No matter what, someone wins the game while the rest stand defeated. School has instilled the same spirit of competition within its participants, diminishing its original purpose, to educate citizens for the future. While the competitive top-tier students glance at their transcript and wish for a higher GPA, a better class rank, those students ranked at the bottom are left with little to no motivation to succeed academically and with a sense of defeat. These points bring me back to my original question of why it is I who is chosen to represent you on this occasion. I climbed the ladder of class rank to the top because I failed to participate in activities such as athletics, band, speech and debate, and journalism that ironically would have decreased my GPA, while I watched my peers become involved and accomplished and improve as
That
human
made me
beings.
laugh a good one.
It is for
Cheers
this
for
reason
that.
I confess that I don't believe I am qualified to represent my graduating class. I have not had the opportunity to talk to or even meet a majority of the graduates here today. The student who ends up with the highest GPA is the one glorified under the name valedictorian and chosen to represent the class, when in reality, grades have little to do with one's knowledge of his or her classmates. In attaining a high GPA, I tended towards social isolation. The sole responsibility of the valedictorian and the salutatorian is to deliver a speech representative of the graduating class, a task that hardly coincides with the selection criterion of GPA. Students in other prestigious positions, such as editors of the Gazette, officers in band, and captains in speech and debate and athletics, hold far more demanding responsibilities that require them to not only work with their peers, but to guide them towards greater goals and achievements, a task that more closely necessitates knowing one's peers. In fact, I know that my efforts and progress in Key Club and in piano will be the experiences I remember in years to come, rather than the struggle for a 90% in every meticulously selected weighted course. I'm confident that our class will move forward to tremendous successes in the future, not as a result of our experience striving for straight A's, but because of the lessons learned and memories made working with fellow students and staff, not to mention our upper middle class background in a society with limited economic mobility. Nevertheless, graduates of Granite Bay High School have exceptionally bright futures ahead, which will shine in a predominantly dark and cruel world. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Malcolm X. So graduates, let us be thankful for the extraordinary educational opportunities we've had these past 4 years, and let us continue to work to prepare for an even brighter tomorrow. Thank you all for your time and attention, and congratulations again to all graduates of the class of 2016.
See, it's nice when you see a young person wake up to the fact it's not about education and your GPA, which is a bunch of bullshit, but it's about people. It's about people. And everyone forgets, you know, hey, it's not about the shit that we're taught. I got an FDR speech here.
6 years that I was about to plunge the nation into war, that you and your little brothers would be sent to the bloody fields of battle in Europe, that I was driving the nation into bankruptcy, and that I breakfasted every morning on a dish of grilled millionaire.
Yeah.
Actually, I am an exceedingly mild-mannered person, a practitioner of peace, both domestic and foreign, a believer in the capitalistic system, and for my breakfast, a devotee of scrambled eggs.
Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. Beyond the watch, there are ways out. There is a light somewhere.
Millennium?
It may not be.
I think you're
much
absolutely
light,
right.
But it beats the darkness. Beyond the watch,
I think we
the
do have a
gods will
black
offer
sun.
you chances. Know them. Take them.
And
You can't
how
beat
it
death,
works
but you can
is
beat death
not
in life
what we think.
sometimes. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be.
It is a matrix.
Your life is your life. Know it while you have it. You are marvelous. The gods wait to delight in you. If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try,
I think this
go all the way.
is more along my philosophy
This could mean losing girlfriends,
and my life.
wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. Go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision, mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. All the way. All the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is.
The following historic recording by Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones dates from the earliest days of tape recording and was actually recorded on paper tape. However, it has been digitally restored, and although the quality is not to modern standards, we hope that you will find it to be a great blessing. As with all Dr. Lloyd-Jones sermons, its relevance for these modern times is undiminished.
What we said on that occasion, because it is essential as an introduction to what we're going to do this morning. We suggested that there are many people who fail in the Christian life because they've never yet awakened to the fact that they're involved in a spiritual warfare. The writer of the hymn we've just been singing understood that well. He starts off, therefore, Christian, seek not yet repose. Cast thy dreams of ease away. So many think that the moment you're converted or take some kind of decision, that's the end. You've finished. The things happen to you. And from there on, it's going to be a perfectly easy, uneventful life. Everything happens for you and everything's done for you. You recline on your bank or bed of roses and there are no more problems. Ease. And we considered why people sometimes have that notion of the Christian life. Fundamentally, of course, it's due to an ignorance of the Scriptures. No man who's read the Scriptures could ever hold that view. For the Scriptures tell us everywhere, as they tell us here, that we are involved and are participators in a tremendous spiritual conflict. All these forces that the Apostle mentions here are arrayed against the forces of God and of His Christ. And their one concern is to defeat Christians. And obviously, if a Christian is not aware of this spiritual realm and this spiritual subtlety, he's already defeated. A man who doesn't even know this, a man who isn't aware that he's in a fight, is a man who's defeated. So defeated that he's blind, he doesn't know. So we emphasize that, and then we emphasize the terrible subtlety of the conflict. The wiles of the wicked one. The way he misleads us and trips us and fools us and gets us down without our knowing that anything has happened at all. Oh, everything we are told about the devil in the Bible emphasizes this element of subtlety, his ingratiating character. Indeed, he can come as an angel of light. He can quote Scripture. He can encourage us to do Christian work as long as he is keeping us where he wants us in some other respect. He often does so. So that people go on happy that everything is right because they're active in Christian work and not aware of some terrible sin that's in their lives at that very moment. He can transform himself into an angel of light. His subtlety, his ingenuity, his malignity are beyond description. Here the apostle warns us against all that. But thank God he doesn't stop at mere warning. He goes on to tell us that there is a way of victory. That's why he writes. He wouldn't have written but for that. Finally, my brethren, he says, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. You needn't be defeated, he says. There is a way of overcoming him. There is a way to be victorious. And again, I say many fail because they don't realize that. There are those who think of the Christian life as a life of which it can be said that you just live perpetually to scorn delights and live laborious days. It isn't that. That's quite wrong again. It's as wrong as that first misconception of reclining on the bank of roses. No, there is a victory possible, but it is in the Lord and in the power of his might, the energy, the vigor of his strength. And then we ended on this note, that perhaps the most frequent cause of failure of all is this, is our failure to understand exactly how that strength and might become ours, how we can avail ourselves of the strength of the Lord and the power of his might. Now, that in particular, as I understand this paragraph, is the thing that it emphasizes most of all. I put it like this in a closing word. So often when you talk to people about these difficulties, about this spiritual conflict, about the assaults and the attacks of the devil, which I described in detail last Sunday morning, we took it as he attacks the body, as he attacks the mind, and as he attacks the heart and the will. He attacks us everywhere, and there's no limit to it. Now, I was suggesting that perhaps our main trouble is due to the fact that we don't know how to avail ourselves of this power. And when you discuss these various problems and forms of attacks with people, and you say to them, well, now, what does the one do about this? Almost invariably the answer you'll be given is just this. They say, all you need to do is to pray about it. Pray about it. But you see, that isn't what the Apostle Paul says. The Apostle Paul does mention prayer, but you notice where it came, didn't you? It came at the end of the paragraph, not at the beginning. Paul, in helping these Ephesians, doesn't say, well, now you've got great problems. All you need to do is to go on praying. No, before he tells them to pray, the Apostle tells them to take unto themselves the whole armor, the full panoply of God, the armor that God provides. And indeed, he isn't content even with a general statement there. He takes the trouble to take us through it piece by piece and bit by bit and tell us how to put it on. Now, I'm suggesting that there are large numbers of people who are in great trouble and distress simply because they've either never read this paragraph, or if they've read it, they haven't looked at it. They've assumed that they needn't pay attention to it, that as long as they're praying, all is well, and they've never done this. And yet, you see, this is how the Apostle tells us that the strength and the might of the Lord becomes available to us. In other words, let me put it like this. In this conflict, in this battle, there are two things that are absolutely essential. The first is that we must have this strength and power that the Lord alone can give us. But in addition to that, we need to be clothed with this armor. Or if you like it the other way around, it's equally good. The armor of God will be valueless to us unless we have the strength and the power that he alone can give to enable us to use it. So you see, it isn't praying only, it isn't the armor only, it's putting on the armor with prayer. The hymn puts it. Put on the gospel armor, each piece put on with prayer. That's it. And our tragedy always is that we are either or instead of both and. It isn't only praying, it's all this as well. But it isn't this alone. There must be the prayer that links us to him and gives us the power to use the armor. Well, now then, that seems to me to be the way in which the apostle tells us that we can not only fight in this spiritual conflict with all its devilish, fiendish subtlety, and oh, how evident and rampant it is at this present time. How easily duped God's people are, satisfied by one side, forgetting the other, not looking at themselves as a whole. Now then, I say the way to overcome and the way to be triumphant is to heed carefully the apostle's teaching and his advice. And this morning I want in particular to look at this question of the armor, the whole armor of God, and to try to understand together what he means by it. Now, the controlling principle, it seems to me, in expounding this armor is that we must always forget that it is the whole armor of God. It isn't something human. I mustn't digress, but let me indicate in a passing, hurried word what I mean by this. It seems to me that the whole error of what we may describe as the Catholic conception of holiness is due to the fact that they've never paid heed to this particular paragraph. How do the Roman Catholics and other Catholics fight this battle, this problem of sin within and without? Well, you notice their method.
Had to start that again.
Time evolves.
Yeah, boys, I'm
comes to a place where it renews.
gonna do
again.
a nice long session. I think
There's first
Sunday
a purification time
before I go.
Then there's renewal time. We are getting very close to this time now. We were told that we would see America come and go. And in a sense, America is dying from within. Because they forgot the instructions on how to live on Earth.
Well, thank you, guys. It's always good to have some encouragement.
Everything is coming to a time where prophecy...
I do try to present things a little differently.
Man's inability to live on Earth in a spiritual way will come to a crossroad of great problems. It's the Hopi belief, it's our belief that if you're not spiritually connected to the Earth and understand the spiritual reality of how to live on Earth, it's likely you will not make it. When Columbus came, that began what we term as the First World War. That was the true First World War when Columbus arrived. Because along with him came everybody from Europe. By the end of the Second World War, we were, in America, we were only 800,000. From 60 million to 800,000. So we were almost exterminated here in America. Everything is spiritual. Everything has a spirit. Everything was brought to you by the Creator, the one Creator. Some people call him God.
I think you're absolutely right there, Kois.
Some people call him Allah. Some people call him other names. We call him Tonkashila.
Tonkashira. Tonkashira.
We're here on Earth only a few winters. Then we go to the spirit world. The spirit world is more real than most of us believe. The spirit world is everything. Over 95% of our body is water. And in order to stay healthy, you've got to drink good water. When the European first came here, Columbus, we could drink out of any river. If the Europeans had lived the Indian way when they came, we'd still be drinking out of water because the water is sacred. The air is sacred. Our DNA is made of the same DNA as the tree. The tree breathes what we exhale. When the tree exhales, we need what the tree exhales. So we have a common destiny with the tree. We are all from the earth. And when the earth, the water, the atmosphere is corrupted, then it will create its own reaction. Mother is reacting. In the Hopi prophecy, they say the storms and floods will become greater. To me, it's not a negative thing to know that there will be great changes. It's not negative. It's evolution. When you look at it as evolution, it's time. Nothing stays the same.
Sedan Darwin skrev sitt berömda verk om arternas uppkomst har vetenskapen varit övertygad om att människan härstammar från aporna.
We always say, that might be your ancestor, but it's not our ancestor. He is a relative, but not our ancestor. You should learn how to plant something. That's the first connection. You should treat all things as spirit. Realize that we are one family. It's never something like the end. Just like life, there is no end to life.
That's about seed, that's about life. Seventh generation is about vision. It's about leadership looking ahead. It's about responsibility. And seventh generation reminds you that you have responsibility to generations that are coming, and that you indeed are in charge of life as it is at the moment. Every generation has its time, and every generation has its leaders, and every generation has its heroes. Every generation has all of that. And when that generation passes, the next generation will have the same. They will also have their leaders. They will also have their heroes. They will also
Well, where did he go? I've lost him. Lost him completely. I'm going to search out a lot more of them. And we'll put on.
When I have few gigs coming, so please have a look at my website, george.canal.Manchester. Or if you want to get more direct information, please become a friend at facebook.com/george.Kanaka, or I have just a like page, George Kanaka /George Kanaka music too for the Facebook. I have a couple of Facebook pages, so please have a look. Hello, thank you very much. Hello too, thank you very much. Well, I'm going to play one more song, Shake Your Money Maker, also come from Syria. I have 3 different series, today's music, including front one. So come and have a look. I have George and Noriko CD available here too. Anytime we have a chance to, please come and have a look. Right.
Now that is talent.
Thank you very much for CD. Please enjoy.
Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. Beyond the watch, there are ways out. There is a light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness. Beyond the watch, the gods will offer you chances. Know them. Take them. He can't beat death, but he can beat death in life, sometimes. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be. Your life is your life. Know it while you have it. You are marvelous. The gods wait to delight in you. If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. Go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail.
All of
it could
them.
mean derision, mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. All the way. All the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is.
Okay, guys. Thanks for joining me on my coffee break, and hope you guys all have a good day. And peace. We only live once, and live it to the most. You know, don't hold back. Do what you want to do. That's what it's about. It's about pushing the barriers and not listening. Take care, guys. Peace and love.